Give me a light to light my way. Truth is the light, so wise men say. Give me a light to light my way. Truth is the light, so wise men say. Give me a light to light my way. Truth is the light, so wise men say. Give me a light to light my way. Truth is the light, so wise men say. Truth is the light, so wise men say.
The voice of God calls us to awaken him. How will he find us when he comes?
Awake and ready.
And when he asks us to dedicate ourselves ever more perfectly, how will he find us?
Awake and ready.
Divine Mother,
Divine Mother,
Heavenly Father,
Heavenly Father,
dearest friend,
dearest friend,
beloved God,
beloved God,
great masters of self-realization,
Great masters of self-realization,
Jesus Christ,
Jesus Christ,
Babaji Krishna,
Babaji Krishna,
Lahiri Mahashaya,
Lahiri Mahashaya,
Swami Shri Yukteswar,
Swami Shri Yukteswar,
beloved Master,
Beloved Master,
Paramahansa Yogananda,
Paramahansa Yogananda,
saints of all religions,
saints of all religions,
we humbly invoke thy presence.
we humbly invoke thy presence.
We thank you in deep gratitude
We thank you in deep
for your
gratitude
unceasing blessings.
for your unceasing blessings.
Help us to submerge ourselves
Help us to submerge ourselves
in your eternal light
in your eternal light
and to become your ambassadors,
and to become your ambassadors,
sharing your light
sharing your light
in this world.
in this world.
Om. Peace. Good morning, friends. Good morning. Have a seat. John renouncing all, left his home, wrapped in solitude, far from men's ways, roaming across desert sands, seeking God's truth. Long years he spoke only with God, till silent of soul, wisdom did fill the ache of his heart. Then he did see God alone.
Continue to meditate. As you listen to these words on our affirmation for this week, practicality. Many spiritual seekers and others with high ideals lose sight of the need to make their idealism practical. Many even resent the suggestion that they try to put an ideal into practice, as though the very effort to do so would mean somehow lessening its purity. But God is no idle dreamer. Were the universe not kept in a state of perfect balance, chaos, not harmony, would be the common state. We too should be practical in our idealism. Life, to be ever expansive, must be a search for truth. Will it work is the preliminary question to, is it true? The test of an ideal is whether it is practical or not. By practicality, we mature from the state of idle dreaming to become emissaries of the truth. Now let's affirm together, first in a strong voice, grabbing the attention of the conscious mind. Though my spirit soars in the skies of consciousness,
Though my spirit soars in the skies of consciousness,
my feet and hands labor here on earth,
my feet and hands labor here on earth,
to make truth real to all.
to make truth real to all.
And now a little softer, bringing it deeper inside. Though my spirit soars in the skies of consciousness,
Though my spirit soars in the skies of consciousness,
my feet and hands labor here on earth,
my feet and hands labor here on earth,
to make truth real to all.
to make truth real to all.
And now in a whisper, bringing it into the subconscious mind, like a record playing there. Though my spirit soars in the skies of consciousness,
My spirit soars in the skies of consciousness,
my feet and hands labor here on earth,
my feet and hands labor here on earth,
to make truth real to all.
to make truth real to all.
And now silently bringing it to the superconscious level with deep focus at the point between the eyebrows. Mentally, though my spirit soars in the skies of consciousness, my feet and hands labor here on earth to make truth real to all. Though my spirit soars in the skies of consciousness, my feet and hands labor here on earth to make truth real to all. And pray silently with me. Let not my thoughts lift me up through beautiful clouds of imagined possibilities, unless you give me the power also to materialize my dreams. Om. Peace. Amen. Good morning, friends. Welcome. Welcome to our Sunday service, and welcome to those joining us online. For those visiting or who don't know us, my name is Dharmadevi, and this is my husband Narayan. And isn't this a beautiful Christmas altar that we just came in this morning to enjoy? And I'm reading to you from Rays of the One Light, weekly commentaries on the Bible and Bhagavad Gita by Swami Kriyananda. And this is Living in the Presence of God. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. In the Gospel of St. Matthew, chapter 25, we read of a king capitalized for the references to God, who welcomed certain devotees to the divine consciousness, saying, I was an hungered, and ye gave me meat. I was thirsty, and ye gave me drink. I was a stranger, and ye took me in. Naked, and ye clothed me. I was sick, and ye visited me. I was in prison, and ye came to me. The elect asked him when it was they had served him in these ways, and the king answered, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these my brethren, ye have done it unto me. To see God as residing in every human being, as indeed he does, is to open oneself to limitless opportunities for serving him. Paramahansa Yogananda, in Autobiography of a Yogi, described a saint who lived in this consciousness as the greatest man of humility I ever knew. He described a seemingly chance encounter with this saint. Another day found me walking alone near the Howrah railroad station. I stood for a moment by a temple, silently criticizing a small group of men with drum and cymbals who were violently reciting a chant. How undevotionally they used the Lord's divine name in mechanical repetition, I reflected. My gaze was astonished by the rapid approach of Master Mahashaya. Sir, how come you here? The saint, ignoring my question, answered my thought. Isn't it true, little sir, that the beloved's name sounds sweet from all lips, ignorant and wise? He passed his arm around me affectionately. I found myself carried on his magic carpet to the merciful presence. If you would see God, watch for him everywhere. If you would hear his voice, listen for it in all sounds and also in their supporting silences. If you would know God, seek his wisdom behind merely human knowledge. The Bhagavad Gita in the 6th chapter states, "One who beholds my presence everywhere, and all things dwelling equally in me, he never loses loving sight of me, nor I of him through all eternity." Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om. Om. Om.
I want to welcome you all also. It's such a joy to be with you. Dharmadevi and I were gone for a couple weeks. We visited a family on the East Coast, our earthly family. And then we actually, Dharmadevi was leading a retreat in Costa Rica. So by proxy, I had to go. I was forced to do it. I really didn't want to. And we had a beautiful time there. Lovely people, lovely country. I didn't know much about Costa Rica. That they haven't had a military since 1948, and they put a lot of their money into education and healthcare, and the people are very sweet, and it had a very spiritual vibration there. I want to start by sharing from Yogananda's book of prayer demands. This is Whispers from Eternity. And this is demand that the cosmic sound lead me from ignorance to wisdom. O cosmic sound of Om, guide me, be with me, lead me from darkness to light, from ignorance to wisdom, from disease to health, from poverty to prosperity, and from misery to eternal joy. There's such beautiful prayer demands and whispers. And yeah, I was reflecting on this topic of living in the presence of God and how Swami pairs these affirmations with the topic practicality, and to be Yogananda would say, be practical in your idealism. And, you know, when you're trying to be practical, I think sometimes Divine Mother has a good, playful sense of humor with us. And I don't know, perhaps I have this, I got infected by Inspector Clouseau, but sometimes I'm a bit clumsy. And I was actually making for Dharmadevi the other day almond milk. I don't know if any of you have ever actually you can make almond milk. Who knew? I didn't. It's very simple. You take almonds and you soak them in water, and then the next day you can put them in a blender or whatever, and then they actually have this kind of cloth that you can put it in, and you milk it. And so I was, it's been chilly, so I had my nice wool, this nice blue wool jacket that Dharmadevi got me, and I'm milking, and I had like a volcanic explosion of almond milk that came out because I sort of shot it out of the bag all onto and Dharmadevi said, I was like, oh no, this wool. I was like, can you wash wool? And she said, yeah, well, you can wash it, but just don't dry it. I was like, okay, fine, no problem. Well, I did the laundry, and I forgot I did dry it. But here's the silver lining in the story is it shrunk perfectly. So now it fits Dharmadevi. So I don't have to shut. Merry Christmas. And perhaps I will milk that, no pun intended, for the birthday present. But to live in the presence of God means that we feel Him and see Him in everything and in everyone. And to try and get behind this hypnotism of life that just gets us caught and attached to this world. Now, there was a woman, Dharmadevi and I had a spiritual relationships class yesterday here at the temple, and this woman was asking, well, how do we live in this world without attachments? We're humans, so we're going to have attachments. That's what it is to be human. And actually, that's not what it is to be human. That's our excuse of what it is to be human. And to really be human is we haven't lived up to our full capacity of who and what we are at the deeper level. And that's why the yogis have brought this eternal science of God communion to go inside and to awaken and remember who and what we are. And of course, during that process, our passions, our desires, our attachments, our ignorance, they begin to tremble, right? Feeling that they're going to be sacrificed on the altar of our own omnipresence in God. But it's the greatest love and it's the greatest joy to go within, to actually begin to feel God's presence. Yogananda used to say that practicing the presence of God, and that Kriya Yoga is the highest practicing the presence of God. And why did he say that? Because it's right within us. The spine and the brain, like he used to say, are the altars of God. And we have these things like it's Christmas time and the Christmas tree. The Christmas tree really represents the spine and the chakras. And the saints in India, they go around with the staff, the danda, to remind them of their own spine, that God is within them. And, well, of course, meditation helps with this. Turning within, the practice of Kriya Yoga, inwardly communing with God, is the way that, because when we feel that touch of God's presence, it helps break those attachments, right? It helps to release our attachment to the body and the personality and all of our self-definitions that have gone along with it. We have these fires happening in Los Angeles. There's people in our community that have been affected, and of course, a number of people have been affected by them, have lost their homes or lost lives or whatever it may be. I was thinking of Jyotish, because back in 1976 or so, Ananda had a forest fire. This is Ananda Village up in Northern California that swept through, and it took out the entire community. I think there was 26 homes at that time, and it burnt down 24 or something like that. It was just, it just demolished the community. And Jyotish and Devi had just had their baby boy, Mark, who was only like 2 weeks old at the time. And Devi had gone to town for a doctor's appointment, and she came back to this smoke, and she couldn't get through, and she didn't know. She was with her son, but she didn't know what happened to Jyotish or the community. And finally, after all the melee and things sort of quieted down, she saw Jyotish, and Jyotish sort of smiled at her. And they lived in this geodesic dome. If you're familiar, if you've ever seen pictures of these domes, and Jyotish actually had built it, and it used to leak when it rained. And so the first thing that Jyotish said to her, after their home had burnt down, after they had lost everything, and now here they have a 2-week-old, baby boy, he said, well, at least we won't have to deal with those leaks anymore. And he was upbeat about it. We have, this is the lesson for all of us, that our happiness is not conditioned by outward circumstances, and that we have the sacred gift of free will, that we choose to be happy amongst all of the craziness of life. Of course, life is not going to be smooth and perfect. What did Yogananda used to say? A smooth life is not a victorious life. You come onto the spiritual path, the parking spaces, don't open up all the time. The light isn't shining down. And if you're really putting out the effort, you're going to get more resistance. It was our friend said to Alicia, I resist. And Alicia said, persist. That's what we need to do. We need to have, it's what Thomas A. Kempis said, imitation of Christ, have the courage to resist and the tenacity to persist through it and the constancy to persevere. This perseverance, that's why we come back to the heart. Get in touch with what are you grateful for? There was a man, a Persian man, and he asked his friend, how are you recently? And his friend said, well, I'm so busy. And then he asked another friend, I'm so busy. He said, it's like this disease of busyness. And then he asked, they had moved to a new town or something like that, and he had, I think, a daughter that was maybe around Ayla's age, and he was trying to set up playtime with the other woman's daughter, and she said, well, let me check. And she pulled out her phone, and she said, well, she's got 45 minutes in like 2 weeks or something like that. And he was, the man was saying it was this disease of busyness. And that really, when he was asking people how they were doing, he said that the Persian culture, there's some word which I'm not familiar with, but that it's really asking, how is the state of your heart? That really when we're with people, we're trying to commune on this level of a heart level, a soul level. Of course, we're all going to be busy with our outward things, but we can, in our heart, have God first. Can't we? Can't we just throughout the day just practice His presence? In fact, I'd like to offer you a different way to think about it. PHP. Practice her presence. PHP2P. Practice her presence in the second person. Talk to Divine Mother, just like she's your friend. Just with trivial things. What should I wear this morning? Should I wear the jacket? Should I wear the do you like that crystal, Divine Mother? I'll wear this crystal. Should I make the almond milk? Don't make the almond milk. Start having this conversation. What we need to remember is that God and Divine Mother and the Masters are our friend. They're on our side. They want us to be free. They want us to let go of these attachments, but they can't until we embrace them, until we use the sacred gift of our free will to say, no, I am tired of this world. My home is burning down. My life is burning down. I am in misery. That whispers, lead me from darkness to light. In the Festival of Light, every week we have that little part. Lord, lead me from darkness to light, from sorrow to joy, from attachment to eternal freedom. And that's a Upanishad that Swami translated and put into the festival. It's that this is the yearning of our heart, is that's what we really want. And when we can just start to, call Divine Mother's bluff and just say, no, that's not what I want. And of course we have to be practical and work in this world. We cannot be idle. We have to be very ambitious, but we can be ambitious for Divine Mother and realize that I'm seeking behind my ambitions. That's what I'm seeking. I'm seeking you. I'm seeking to heal others because I'm seeking to be an instrument for your divine energy. I'm seeking to be of service or creative because I'm seeking to feel your creative life force flowing through me. I'm seeking you because I know that I've tried every other thing and it always ends up in almond milk on my jacket. So I will seek you now first, last, and always. I just had another Inspector Clouseau moment because I opened up this morning, this other Krishna passage, he who sees me and doesn't forget me, and I see him everywhere. And I'd opened up to Master just talking about that passage, and then I lost it. But what Master was saying in this passage was that we need to remember God, and that just a little bit of prayer is not enough, that we need to have that resolution that it's not just coming together on Sunday, but we come to the temple again of our own heart, like that chant, and that when we sit to meditate, we're not a clock watcher. You forget time and just plunge yourself into your meditation and just say, Lord, I surrender myself to thee. I give myself to thee. Come to me, Mother. And you read about these stories of Yogananda, these deep meditations that he had. They're not for him, they're for us to remember, to make that kind of divine resolution, that divine effort on our own part. There's one story of Master that I'll close with, where when he was a young boy, I don't know how old he was this time, maybe 10 or 12 or something like that, and his family would be used to him being gone for periods of time, going to the Kali temple or meditating for long hours. He was not your average child. And this one time he just had this resolution. He said, I'm going to have a long meditation. I'm going to have a deep meditation. And then he would put it off the next day, put it off. And he realized that had gone on for a year. So maybe he was 13 or 14. I don't know how old. And then he said, finally, well, when am I going to have that long meditation? Today, I'm going to do it. And then he just went up to his little attic room. This is in Garpar Road in Calcutta. And he sat to meditate. And he went deep into his meditation for a period of hours. And what turned into 24 hours and turned into 48 hours. He was gone, up in the attic room meditating. And he was actually levitating during that meditation at one point. He was so deep in ecstatic joy in his communion with God. And then he finally came out of that meditation, and he had such bliss. He was walking down the stairs, and they had a cook that was part of their family more than like a cook. And this cook had a back problem for many years. And Yogananda just touched the man, and the man was instantly healed. It was from that depth of his meditation that he could then be a channel for the divine. So it's always, that's what this reading for us today is, living in the presence of God, is get into your Christmas tree. Get into your spine first, commune with God, and then, that's what the cross symbolizes, then reach out into the world. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, then you can reach out into the world. And we saw this with Swamiji again and again when he would act this way as a channel. It was just the sweetest kindness that he would manifest. I remember one time when at Ananda village, and Swami was about to go to India, and this was at the time where he was 84, 85, and every time he left, you thought, well, this may be the last time that you would see him, because he was just, getting up there. And he gave a satsang, and after the satsang, he greeted every person individually. And this was like some 300 people or something like that. And it took about 2 hours, but I just sat there, I just watched him from afar, just greet just each person and just be with them. It was like soul to soul. And it was so sweet. And it was just the friend, God as our friend as well. So let's remember this during the Christmas season, that we go ever deeper in our communion with our inner friend, with our Divine Mother, and that we be the friend and servant to her in all. God bless you.